All right, 25th. I get my microphone tomorrow, so the audio should get better tomorrow or the day after, depending on what time it shows up. All right, let's see. This one's it's probably one of the first ones that I'm not ragging on the chef in some way. This was a dumb thing that one of the other cooks did actually. So the chef told this other cook to strain the sauce from the short rib, right? So strain the sauce from the short rib. So we take the short rib, we made sauce, and then we braised it in it and all that stuff. And the intention is, after it's cooked, you cool it in the liquid, then you take the short ribs out, and then you turn the leftover braising liquid into sauce. So chef told the other cook strain the short ribs, and then he was like, okay, and he brought it over to the sink. He got a really big colander, and then he put the colander in the sink, and he poured all of the whole hotel pan of short ribs and sauce into the colander to strain the short rib, right? And he did exactly what the instructions said, strain the short rib, but he didn't save the sauce. He poured the braising liquid down the sink. He's supposed to put a container under the strainer to catch the sauce or the braising liquid, which he didn't do. so so he threw away the sauce for the meat, which took like 5 hours to braise or whatever in the oven, and had all these tomatoes and onions and mirepoix and all this stuff that made that sauce taste good. And then he just poured it down the sink. As you can imagine, the whole thing happened with the whole yelling and all that stuff, but yeah, throwing away sauce that you took a lot of work to make. That's that one. This one. These two are in the same story category. So we did this offsite event at it was at a government building. It was like the palace or something. Anyways, we prepped everything, and then we brought it over there, and we already had everything. Well, long story short, we forgot to bring salt, which we should have brought. That's our fault, and I own up to that one. But we showed up at the event like 2 hours early, and we didn't have any salt. So I was like, I'll go get some salt, because the chef was getting all mad and stuff, and I was like, I'll go get salt. I ran 2 miles into town to maybe not 2 miles, maybe a mile and a half to Walmart. I run in there all in a coat and everything and getting all sweaty, and I buy a box of salt, and I run back over there. And then the chef actually wasn't mad, because he saw me like drenched in sweat. He was just like, could have avoided this if we brought salt. And I was like, yep, I know. So that's that story. And then later on that day, so I was really, I am really good at making roulades that are really tight and taut and look nice, and saran wrap and that whole thing. Like a roulade is basically anything that you roll up in saran wrap into like a tubular shape. And I was good at it, and I'm still good at it, but he knew I was good at it, so I prepped it. We got like filet, tenderloin, and then made a venison tenderloin. So I did the whole thing, and then we sous vide it. And as most people know, meat turns gray when you sous vide it and there's no oxygen. So I made like 10, 15 roulades. We're supposed to cut them into portions and serve with like sauce and stuff like that. But we show up to the event, and then he calls me over, and then he starts like yelling at me like, what the fuck, you didn't roll it tight and all that stuff, and they're all gray and they're all fucked. And it was like, no. I kept telling him, no, that's how it's supposed to look. We sous vide it in saran wrap, and that's what color it's supposed to be. And then he kept saying like, there's water, there was a hole somewhere and water got inside, you suck at making roulades and that type of stuff. And yeah, I just stood there. I was like, no, they're good. And then she's, get the fuck out of here. So I go away and I go do stuff, and then I come back over in like 10 minutes, and he doesn't say anything, and I'm looking at the meat, and it's like beautiful inside. It's a perfect circle, and it has perfect temperature inside. It's just that one gray ring on the outside, because that's what happens when you sous vide things. But yeah, he yelled at me that whole time, and then turns out it's beautiful. So that's the one thing that back then I was 100% confident that I could do very, very well. Wrap things in saran wrap. Oh, I have another story over here called saran wrap. So I'll just lead straight into that one. This one's a short one. We're prepping, and then he gives me this big bowl like this big, and then he's like, Kenny, put this in the fridge. Okay. So I grab it, I saran wrap it, I put it in the fridge. And then like 5 minutes later, he goes in the fridge and he comes out, and then he's like, Kenny, come here. And then he starts yelling at me. I fucking told you to saran wrap this and put it in the fridge. And then he was like, and then I was like, I did. It's right there. And obviously it's right there because he's pointing at it while saying, I told you to saran wrap it and put it in the fridge. And he does the whole like, that whole thing. And then he's like, what do you, it's in the fridge, you didn't wrap it. And I was like, I did wrap it. And then I'm like, what do you mean it's not wrapped? And then he looks closer, and I saran wrapped it so tight that it looked perfectly clear with no, it's not that hard to saran wrap that tight, but I wrapped it really tight, and then you couldn't see the borders anywhere, even though it was a big bowl like this. That's a little bit harder, but then yeah, I was like, chef, there's saran wrap on it. and he looks at it, and then he realizes that there is saran wrap on it, and he's just like, put another layer on there. Yeah. How much time we got? This one's also a short one. I got a lot of short stories. So this was after his restaurant opened already, and later, this is actually way later. This is when I was about to leave already. At this point, he stopped yelling at me. He didn't know I was gonna leave yet, but I guess he started respecting me. But yeah, he was showing me. We just started doing lunch, and then he started showing me how to. He was like, okay, Kenny, you do this, and then this is how you, and then this is how you flip a burger patty. And he used to always say, can you show some finesse? Like over the whole like year and a half, he said that quite often. But then when he went to go flip this ahi burger patty over, because he was showing me one time, like, this is how you do it like just like that every time. So he took the spatula, he went like that. He flipped it, it broke in half. And because on the plancha, usually there's like two spatula thingies, and then I kind of worked it like a teppanyaki where you have one in each hand so you can like gently flip things over, and like, you know, it's easier to use two things. But he insisted on saying like, this isn't a fucking teppanyaki, use one. And then he uses one, and then he doesn't like flip it over gently, he just flips it like a burger, you know, like when you see on a grill with a burger patty, you just take the spatula, you go like that, and you just flop it over. He did that, and then the whole thing broke in half. And then I was like, chef, can you show us something next? He tried to twist my nipple after that. He knew I got him.